Life has a cruel way of unraveling without warning. One day you feel secure, anchored, certain of your path. And the next, it's as if the ground beneath you has disintegrated, leaving nothing but dust. That's where I am now. 32 years old, sitting once again in the small bedroom I grew up in, back in my parents' house in Dallas. The walls are still covered in old posters, the desk littered with forgotten trinkets from another lifetime. I catch myself letting out a sharp, bitter laugh at the irony of it all. My name is Olivia, and this version of my life, isn't the one I pictured. I never imagined I'd end up here, back in this room, sifting through the past while trying to understand how my choices brought me to this point. It all began with Daniel. We first met at a housewarming party my friend Rachel threw after moving into her new townhouse. Her place was the kind of charming storybook home I had always dreamed of owning. Stepping inside, I felt a wave of envy I couldn't shake. It wasn't just the cozy decor, it was the life she had built. A thriving career, a fiancé who adored her, a future unfolding neatly ahead of her. And then there was me, single, worn down by the exhausting cycle of dating apps and empty conversations, starting to wonder if real connection was something I'd never find. That's when I noticed him. Daniel stood a little apart from the crowd, tall, dark-haired, carrying himself with a calm confidence that naturally drew people in. But what stood out most wasn't his appearance, it was the way he listened. He wasn't waiting for his turn to speak. He was fully present, engaged, as if every word I said mattered. That night, we talked for hours. And for the first time in so long, I felt something awaken inside me. Maybe, just maybe, I had finally met someone who wouldn't leave. For a while, Daniel was everything I had longed for. Gentle, attentive, unfailingly kind. He made me feel safe in ways no one else ever had. Our relationship blossomed naturally, quickly but without pressure. Within a year, he proposed. A year after that, we exchanged vows. I had everything I thought I wanted: stability, devotion, a love I could depend on. But over time, the very steadiness that once reassured me became the thing I began to doubt. I stopped noticing the beauty in it. I stopped noticing him. I started mistaking his patience for monotony. The small gestures, slipping notes into my lunch bag, remembering my coffee just the way I liked it, began to feel routine instead of romantic. Daniel wasn't the kind of man who made grand gestures or whisked me off on spontaneous adventures. He was the man who showed up every single day, quietly and consistently. Instead of treasuring that, I let discontent take root. I began asking myself, had I chosen comfort instead of passion? Safety instead of spark? At first the questions were whispers, easy to dismiss. But they grew louder, until they became impossible to ignore. It all unraveled at a dinner party. Just a small gathering of friends, good food, wine, easy conversation. The topic drifted to love, whether it's about fate or timing, how you know if you chose the right person. Without thinking, I laughed and blurted out, honestly, if I had to do it all over again, I probably wouldn't have married Daniel. The silence that followed was suffocating. The laughter vanished. Conversations halted. My stomach sank as I turned to him. Daniel's face was unreadable, but I saw his hand tighten around his wine glass. "Wow," he said, voice low but sharp enough to cut. "That's good to know." Panic surged through me. I tried to backtrack, tried to paint it as a poorly timed joke. But the damage was done. His eyes, once warm, were now distant, cold. He didn't yell, didn't argue. That night he simply went to bed without another word. I told myself we'd talk in the morning, that he'd forgive me like he always did. But when I woke up, he was gone. His clothes, his toothbrush, everything. On the nightstand sat his wedding band, carefully placed beside a photo from our honeymoon. I stared at it in disbelief, the weight of emptiness filling the room. I called, texted, pleaded, but there was no response. I clung to the hope that he just needed space, that once the sting wore off he'd return. But days stretched into weeks, and weeks into a month. Eventually, I had to accept the truth. He wasn't coming back. And what hurt most wasn't just his absence, it was how easily he let go. One afternoon, walking downtown, I saw him at a cafe patio. He was laughing, smiling, sitting across from a woman who seemed like the embodiment of everything I wasn't. Elegant, self-assured, effortlessly beautiful. She radiated a confidence that didn't demand attention. Daniel looked at her the way he used to look at me, like she was his entire world. A storm of emotions crashed over me. I wanted to run to him, to remind him of what we had, to beg for another chance. But I didn't. Because deep down, I knew he was already gone. Worse, I realized I had never truly deserved him. Regret doesn't roar. It whispers. It creeps into the quiet spaces of your life until one day you wake up and understand you've destroyed something irreplaceable. I had been given something rare and precious, and I let it slip through my hands because I was blinded by an illusion of what I thought was missing. Daniel didn't walk away because he stopped loving me. He left because he finally accepted the truth. I would never love him in the way he truly deserved. And so here I am, back in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by relics of who I used to be, suffocating under the weight of my own mistakes, asking myself how I let it all collapse. They say you don't realize what you have until it's gone. But that's not always true. Sometimes you do realize. You just never think you'll actually lose it.